So I was trying to think, what is it that makes a certain guitar feel like it's important to you, you know? Why is it your guitar? Why do you want to pick it up every day? Why do you want to practice and play, perform, and keep that, you know, piece of wood, some metal strings, a lot of craftsmanship, some plastic? Why do you want to keep it for the rest of your life? And I just thought, it's quite a complex issue, really. I mean, this guitar, let's say, is my most expensive guitar. It's a Fender custom shop. I wanted a Telecaster, so I had the chance. I was lucky I could go and buy this one. And I have fallen in love with it. There's so many things about it I love. You know, the sound is sweet, as my dad says when he hears me play it. On the other hand, the thing that makes a Tele has got to be the bridge pickup. And that is just probably not my bag, actually. So, funny enough, I tend to only use it with this pickup, which, nothing wrong with it. It is part of the guitar. It may not be what you think of as a Telecaster sound necessarily. And I love this guitar. You know, it's beautiful craftsmanship. The colour and the pickguard sort of combination is fun. And I can spend hours sweating on this thing and playing. And it's got a really sort of primitive feeling neck, in the sense that it's big and it's bold and it's, you know, just you grab onto it and you just want to play all day. And that's what a great guitar should give you. But there's another factor, which means that probably if I could only have one guitar, it wouldn't be this one. Not because it doesn't sound great, not because I don't enjoy playing it and I don't think the craftsmanship is absolutely incredible, or that I'm proud to have a Fender custom shop. But there's another factor, and I'll get onto that in a moment. Let's talk about another guitar first. So this is another guitar that I got recently, and this is a guitar that I appreciate, like I guess someone who loves cars might appreciate a Ferrari. Something you covet, something that you really, really want. It's sexy, looks incredible. It's perfect. It probably stays in tune better than any of my other guitars. It's got more versatility than any of my other guitars probably. And just the way it looks, you know, it's stunning. And that's what Paul Reed Smith does. And there's nothing wrong with that. It also sounds pretty good. To me, it sounds great. It's got humbuckers that are powerful but gritty. You know, they have a sort of almost a vintage character. I think they're modelled after a 58 pickup. But then it's also got a very light, or should we say clear and sort of clarity-driven jazzy sound, if you want it to play like that, which is not necessarily what I'm into. It's got a beautiful, clear tone to it. It's got soul. You know, the fact that it's semi-hollow, it has that resonance about it, and it's, you know, it's incredibly versatile. It's beautifully made. I love it. You know, nice, pretty inlays and all of that sort of thing. And I always wanted a Paul Reed Smith, mainly because Santana played one actually, and I could never afford that Santana guitar. Still can't. But this is not the one guitar that I would have either. And I was trying to think about why that might be. You know, if it's perfect and it looks great, it sounds amazing, it stays in tune, what more do you ask for from your guitar? Well, there's got to be that connection, that soulful heart-to-heart connection that I think grows, maybe it grows with time, but also with the connection to other people you've played with, people you've played for, and people you've seen playing an instrument. And when I was growing up, apart from Santana, no one had a Paul Reed Smith. and no one had a guitar that looked like this, and so it just wasn't what I grew up with. My dad is a key part of my sort of musical education and history, and we used to sit for hours listening to old vinyl, you know, from Led Zeppelin and Wishbone Ash to Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix, you know, everyone and everything. And Dad would never have seen anyone play this on a stage, and so I didn't grow a connection with the idea of this guitar. Not to say I don't enjoy bringing it out, but yeah, maybe you've had that connection with the guitar yourself, and we'll get to that in a minute. So it's not this guitar. If you buy this guitar, you're probably going to spend a lot of time tuning it. Doesn't seem to love being in tune, but okay, this is my newest guitar, and you know, I absolutely love it. I've wanted a Les Paul for as long as I've known about guitars, really. My playing idol growing up was Jimmy Page, along with Jimi Hendrix, and honestly, I fantasized about having a guitar like this, and we just couldn't afford it when I was growing up. So, you know, I think I might have had an Epiphone at some point. I can't really remember it. But this guitar is something I've worked towards for a long time, and I decided to go for this gold top with P90s because I don't feel ready yet to get the 59 reissue Sunburst that is one of my dream guitars. Why is that? Well, I think of the guitar journey as like a lifelong thing, and I'm trying to improve my playing. I had a long gap, 15 years, until I started playing again 5 months ago. So I'm definitely not ready to pick up what to me will be like my hero, that 59 Sunburst. So this guitar is a great start. It has a lot of limitations. Some of that is what's great about it. I mean, in this neck pickup, I mean, it can do that Les Paul sort of stuff, and P90 is a great fun pickup. Pretty punky, but also you can get that really wonderful old gritty blues tone out of it. So this guitar represents the first step on a journey towards that Les Paul dream that I've got. And I've only just got this 2 weeks ago, so I haven't had time to build a huge relationship with it. It has limitations, you know. I think this neck pickup is great. The bridge one I'm not so happy with. It's a bit weedy, a bit thin. That might represent what the originals were like. I don't know enough about that to know. And I love the way it looks, and it's my first Gibson, so it's got a special place in my heart. But it needs time, and also, although I know a lot of players have played gold tops over the years, but it never tends to be a main guitar as such. I've noticed Joey Landreth has got one. It's not a Gibson, it's made by someone he knows, that looks gorgeous, and he, obviously being one of the greatest guitar players around at the moment, makes that thing sing. So there's some sort of connection there to something that I'm interested in. But I just wanted to get used to a Les Paul, play a Les Paul, and although I may keep this guitar for life, if I could only have one guitar, it also wouldn't be this one. So what is the one? Well, this is the one, and I want to explain why. For me, this is my guitar. You know, this is my number one guitar. to sort of steal that Jimmy Page thing where he had his number one. When I was about 9 or 10, I really wanted to play the electric guitar, and so my parents took me to see a guitar teacher. Now, they convinced me and my parents that I should learn the Spanish classical guitar first, at least to some degree. So I think the next 2 years or so, my lessons were only on the classical guitar, and I actually carried on playing that throughout my teenage years, doing exams and whatnot. But I was desperate to get an electric guitar. You know, my musical taste comes from both my parents, and both, you know, my parents were into great classic rock. My mum loved Thin Lizzy, and she loved Fleetwood Mac and Pink Floyd, and my dad loved Led Zeppelin and Wishbone Ash and The Who, and you know, they both had been to so many gigs in their life in that wonderful 70s era. So, you know, I wanted to be a part of that. And part of that was looking at all my dad's and mum's vinyls, of which they had hundreds. And the other was wanting to learn to play like the guys that I'd seen and heard. And it was one Christmas day when I think I was 12. My sister, I remember getting some really great presents. Maybe it was a new television for her room and a stereo and a couple of things. And my parents gave me a sports bag. It was just a Nike sports bag. But I wasn't the sort of kid that wanted to upset my parents, so I sort of grinned. Thanks, Mum, thanks, Dad. But I was disappointed, I was heartbroken. And then about 3 hours later, my dad said that he'd got a phone call, the alarm at his office had gone off, he had to go and check it. Anyway, he went away for about 45 minutes. God knows what he actually did to pass the time. And when he came back, he said he asked me to come and help him with something in the car. And I got to the car, and actually, yeah, that was when my sister's television was in the car. She'd got her stereo earlier in the day. So he's like, can you take this TV in? It's for your sister. I was like, okay, just be happy with my sports bag. And then hiding underneath it, or behind it, was a tiny little Marshall amp, about the same size as this one. It was the sort of little practice amp that you might get back then. And behind that was the black, long, rectangular, thin case. I had no idea what it was. I'd never seen an electric guitar in real life, even apart from probably my guitar teacher's one that he kept in the corner of the room. Never brought it out because we were doing classical guitar. So my dad said, oh, and also you could just come back and help me with this. So we brought them inside. I still, at that moment, I didn't clock that these were for me because I guess I'd seen the Marshall sign and I probably went into a bit of a shock moment. Is this mine? I don't know. I don't want to get excited. So we bring it in and Mum and Dad crowd round and obviously the game's up and the Nike sports bag was, you know, just part of the ruse. It was one of the greatest days of my life, frankly, and when we opened it, we opened the box that turned out to be a Fender guitar case, and inside was this white USA Fender standard guitar, which I have recently customized. So it didn't have a green pickguard, it didn't have a scraped neck, which this one now does. I've put new pickups, new bridge, new nuts, new tuners. I've given it an overhaul, and that was I had to have a real good think about that. For a couple of months I thought, this guitar was given to me by my parents. Yeah, it's an heirloom for me. Do I change it? And then I thought, actually paying to have it brought up to a standard which I thought was fantastic, which it is now, and to make it really interesting with some 62 custom made pickups, that's just doing a service to this instrument that I've loved since I was that young. And both my parents, it turns out, are really happy that I still love it and that I've put a lot of attention, brought it up to a sort of different spec, and given it a different look even. If I could only have one guitar, it would be this one. So maybe you've all got a story like that about a guitar. Maybe there's one guitar that you'll never ever part with. You know, I would come back into a burning building, a partially burning building to get this guitar, because it's not about getting any insurance money. You know, this piece of wood, this lacquer, this paint, this fretboard, this represents that dream, that youth, that hope that I had. And obviously I wanted the colour of guitar that Jimi Hendrix had. So there we go. That's my little tale. This is the guitar I would keep. And let me know in the comments if you've got a guitar that you love and why. And there we go. I'll just play something on this little amp.